Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars move slowly past the main viewing screen. 3 months into their deep space mission, the human fleet had traveled farther from Earth than any humans before them. The ship hummed quietly around him, filled with the sounds of air recyclers and engine cores that had become as familiar as his own heartbeat. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the communication array," called out Lieutenant Amy Parker from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and quick fingers that danced across her control panel. "It's not on any of the standard frequencies we monitor." Jake walked over to her station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The New Horizon was built for exploration, not comfort. Everything was practical and strong, designed to handle whatever space might throw at them. "What kind of signal?" Amy frowned at her screen, adjusting the controls. "It's weak, but it's definitely artificial. And, Captain, I think it's a distress call." "Put it through the speakers," Jake ordered. The bridge crew turned to listen as static filled the air, then a voice came through. It was high and musical, speaking in broken galactic standard. "This is research vessel Gentle Current of the Villani people," the voice said, fear clear in every word. "We have been captured by raiders. They call themselves Kragoth. We are being held at coordinates 774. Mark 889. We do not expect rescue. Our people are not warriors. We are too soft, too weak for such things." The voice paused, and they could hear other sounds in the background, harsh voices speaking in a different language. "If anyone receives this message, please tell our families we tried to return home. The Kragoth are taking us to their base in the system they call the graveyard of ships. No civilized species goes there. It is too dangerous." The signal cut out, leaving only static. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. These were good people, trained for exploration and research, not combat. But they were humans, and humans had certain ideas about right and wrong. "Amy, can you get a fix on those coordinates?" he asked. "Already working on it, sir," she replied, her fingers moving fast. "It's about 6 days' travel from here, but Captain, the computer shows warnings all over that system. It's marked as extremely hazardous." Commander Ryan Torres, the ship's tactical officer, stepped forward. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his time in Earth's military. "Captain, I've heard of the Kragoth. They're bad news. Pirates, slavers, killers. They come from a heavy gravity world and think that makes them tough. Tougher than us?" Jake asked with a slight smile. Ryan almost laughed. "Sir, they've never met anyone from Earth. That was the thing most aliens didn't understand about humans. Earth was what the galactic community would call a death world if they knew the truth about it. Humans had grown up on a planet that tried to kill them every day. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years, storms that could level entire cities, earthquakes that split continents. Weather that changed from burning heat to deadly cold in hours. Most alien species came from nice, stable worlds with gentle weather and predictable seasons. They built their ships for comfort and efficiency. Humans built everything like it might. Have to survive a hurricane because on Earth they probably would." "Sir," said Lieutenant Sam Collins from the pilot station, "I'm reading the fleet positions. The Iron Wolf and Stormchaser are both within communication range." Jake nodded. "Open a channel to both ships?" "Captain Chung, Captain Sullivan I need. You both on a secure line." The main screen split to show 2 other ship bridges. Captain Lisa Chang of the Iron Wolf was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for never backing down from a fight. Captain Matt Sullivan of the Stormchaser was younger, but he had grown up on a mining station in the asteroid belt and knew how to handle dangerous situations. "We all heard the transmission," Jake said without wasting time. "I know what the regulations say about getting involved in local conflicts. But we're looking at innocent people being held by pirates. What's the tactical situation?" asked Lisa. Getting straight to the point, Ryan stepped into view of the camera. "The Kragoth operate out of a fortress built into an asteroid. Intelligence reports say they have about 12 warships, all heavily armed. The area is filled with the wreckage of ships from species that tried to challenge them and lost. Matt whistled low. 3 exploration ships against 12 warships? Those aren't good odds. Depends on the ships, said Lisa with a grin. Ryan, what do we know about Kragath technology? Standard galactic designs, Ryan replied. Energy efficient, comfortable for long journeys, built for showing off their power. They rely on their reputation to avoid actual fights. So they've never fought anyone who builds ships like we do, Jake said. That was another thing about humans. While other species built ships to be efficient and comfortable, humans built them to survive. The New Horizon could fly through an asteroid storm, handle solar flares that would cook most alien electronics, and keep working even when half the systems were damaged. Amy looked up from her station. Captain, I'm getting more details on those coordinates. The Kragath base is in a system with an unstable star and 3 asteroid belts. Most species consider it impossible to navigate safely. Sam laughed from his pilot station. Sounds like flying through Sol System on a busy day? Jake had made his decision the moment he heard the fear in the alien voice, but he wanted his crew to choose for themselves. Here's what we're looking at. We can file a report with Galactic Council and hope they send someone to help in a few months. Or we can do what humans do. Which is? Asked Matt from the Storm Chaser. We can go get them ourselves. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Jake could see his crew thinking it over. This wasn't what they had signed up for when they joined the exploration fleet. They were supposed to be making contact with new species, mapping star systems, doing science, but they were also humans, and humans had a hard time walking away when someone needed help. I'm in, said Lisa without hesitation. The Iron Wolf is ready for whatever comes next. Storm Chaser is with you, added Matt. Besides, someone needs to show these Kragath what a real Deathworld species looks like. Jake turned to his own crew. Anyone who wants to transfer to one of the other ships. Before we do this, speak up now. No shame in it? Nobody moved? Amy looked up from her station with determination in her eyes. Sir, those people are counting on someone to help them. If we don't, who will? Set course for the graveyard of ships, Jake ordered. And send a message. To Earth Command. Tell them we're about to do something that might change how the galaxy sees humanity. As the New Horizon turned toward the coordinates of the alien distress call, Jake wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. 3 ships against a pirate fortress wasn't exactly a fair fight. Of course, the Kragath didn't know they were about to fight humans. That might just make all the difference. 6 hours after receiving the distress call, the 3 human ships moved into formation. Jake Morrison stood in the New Horizon's main conference room, waiting for the other captains to arrive by shuttle. The room was simple and practical, with a large metal table and chairs that could be bolted down if the ship had to make emergency maneuvers. Captain Lisa Chang was the first to arrive. She was small but moved with the confidence of someone who had spent years in dangerous situations. Behind her came Captain Matt Sullivan, tall and lean with the steady hands of someone who had grown up working on mining equipment in space. Coffee? Jake offered, pointing to a pot on the side table. Real coffee or that synthetic stuff? Asked Matt. Real, we brought some from Earth, Lisa smiled as she poured herself a cup. Now I know we're serious about this mission. Jake activated the conference room's main screen, which showed a tactical display of the Kragath system. Red dots marked known pirate ships, and a large symbol showed the asteroid base where the Villani prisoners were being held. Before we make any plans, I want everyone to understand what we're up against, Jake said. Ryan has been digging through the galactic databases all morning. Commander Ryan Torres entered the room, carrying a datapad and looking grim. What I found isn't encouraging. The Kragath have been operating in that system for over 50 years. They've destroyed or captured more than 200 ships from various species. What kind of ships? Asked Lisa. Everything. Cargo vessels, research ships, even some military escorts. The database shows that 3 different species have sent official military forces to deal with the Kragath. All failed. Matt leaned back in his chair. So why do we think we can succeed where others failed? Before Ryan could answer, the door opened and Chief Engineer Ben Roberts walked in. He was a big man with grease under his fingernails and the kind of smile that meant he had been working on something interesting. "Sorry I'm late, Captain. I was running some tests on the modifications we discussed." Jake nodded. "Ben, tell the other captains what you found out about our ships compared to alien designs." Ben pulled up a chair and activated his own datapad. "I've been studying the technical specifications of ships from other species, and the differences are pretty amazing. Most alien vessels are built for efficiency and comfort. They use just enough structural strength to handle normal space conditions." "Normal space conditions?" asked Matt. "Think about it," Ben continued. "Most species come from stable solar systems. Their home stars don't throw off massive solar flares every few years. They don't have asteroid belts filled with rocks moving at crazy speeds. Their planets don't have magnetic fields that flip and cause electromagnetic storms." Lisa was beginning to understand. "So their ships are built for predictable conditions." "Exactly. But human ships are built to handle Sol System, which is basically a cosmic shooting gallery. We design everything to survive solar storms, asteroid impacts, gravitational anomalies, and electromagnetic pulses that would shut down most alien technology." Jake brought up a comparison on the main screen. It showed the basic design of a typical galactic vessel next to the New Horizon. The alien ship looked sleek and elegant. The human ship looked like it was built to survive a war. "Our hull plating is 3 times thicker than standard," Ben explained. "Our engines are designed to work even when half the system is damaged. Our electronics are shielded against radiation that most species have never even encountered." Ryan added his own information. "I've been looking at combat reports from the species that fought the Kragath. They all tried to fight at long range, using energy weapons and guided missiles. When their shields failed, the battle was over." "What about close combat?" asked Matt. "No one tries close combat in space. It's considered too dangerous." Lisa laughed. "Too dangerous for who?" The door opened again, and Dr. Kate Williams entered the room. She was the fleet's expert on alien biology and cultures, a thin woman with gray hair and intense eyes. "Sorry to interrupt, but I thought you should know what I found about the Kragath themselves," she said, sitting down and opening her own datapad. "Go ahead, Kate," Jake said. "The Kragath come from a world called Krag Prime. It has heavy gravity, about 1.5 times Earth. Normal. They're proud of being tough and strong, and they think this makes them the ultimate warriors in the galaxy." "How do they compare to humans physically?" asked Lisa. Kate smiled. "They're stronger than most species, but they've never encountered anyone from a world as dangerous as Earth. Their planet has heavy gravity, but it's stable. No major weather patterns, no tectonic activity, no mass extinctions every few million years. So they're tough, but not adaptable," Ryan observed. "Exactly. Their fighting style relies on overwhelming force and intimidation. They've never had to deal with an opponent who could adapt quickly or think creatively under pressure." Ben stood up and walked to the main screen, "Which brings me to the modifications I've been working on. If we're going to fight these pirates, we need to use tactics they won't expect." He brought up technical drawings of the human ships. "I've been looking at ways to turn our exploration equipment into weapons. Our mining lasers can be reconfigured for combat. Our cargo launching systems can fire makeshift missiles. And our docking clamps can be used for ramming attacks." Matt raised an eyebrow. "Ramming attacks? Think about it. Our ships are built to survive collisions with asteroids. Their ships are built to look impressive and move efficiently. In a ramming contest, there's no question who wins." Jake looked around the table. "What about our crew?" "We're explorers and scientists, not soldiers," Ryan spoke up. "Actually, Captain, I think that might be our advantage. Military crews from other species train for conventional space combat. But humans learn to improvise from childhood. We grow up on a world that's constantly trying to kill us, so we learn to adapt." Lisa nodded. "My crew has been asking what they can do to help." When I told them we were going to rescue prisoners from pirates, they started volunteering for dangerous assignments. Same here, said Matt. I think they're excited about the challenge. Kate looked thoughtful. There's something else to consider. The galactic community sees combat as a last resort. Most species will surrender rather than fight to the death. But humans have a history of fighting impossible odds when they believe in what they're doing. Ben pulled up another screen. I've been working with the other ship's engineers. We can modify all 3 vessels for combat in about 18 hours. The changes won't be pretty, but they'll be effective. Jake studied the modification plans. The human ships would lose some of their exploration capabilities, but they would gain weapon systems that no alien engineer would ever think to design. What about the Kragoth base itself? He asked. Ryan brought up detailed scans. It's built into a large asteroid with weapons platforms and shield generators all around it. The entrance is heavily defended, and there are patrol ships constantly moving around the perimeter. Sounds like a fortress, observed Lisa. It is, but fortresses have a weakness. They're designed to keep enemies out, not to deal with enemies who are already inside. Matt grinned. You're thinking of a boarding action? I'm thinking of something more direct. Our ships can survive in environments that would destroy most alien vessels. What if we use that to our advantage? Jake was beginning to see the plan. We don't fight the fortress from outside, we get inside it. The asteroid field around the base is considered impassable by galactic standards, Ryan continued. But our ships are designed to navigate through Sol System's asteroid belt, Ben nodded enthusiastically. And once we're close enough, we use our biggest advantage. Which is? Asked Kate. We're crazy enough to try things that no sane species would attempt. Jake looked around the table at his fellow captains and crew members. They were about to attempt something that the entire galactic community would consider impossible. 3 exploration ships against a fortress that had defeated military fleets, but they were humans, and humans had a talent for doing impossible things when someone needed help. All right, Jake said. Let's get to work. We have 18 hours to turn 3 research vessels into something that can fight pirates. As the meeting broke up, Jake couldn't help but smile. The Kraga thought they were the toughest species. In the galaxy, they were about to learn what tough really meant. 5 days later, the 3 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system known as the Graveyard of Ships. Lieutenant Sam Collins sat at the pilot station of the New Horizon, his hands steady on the controls as he studied the readings on his screen. Captain, you need to see this, Sam said. His voice quiet with amazement. Jake Morrison moved to stand behind the pilot's chair, looking at the tactical display. What he saw made him understand why most species avoided this place. The entire system was filled with debris. Broken ships floated in twisted metal clouds around 3 separate asteroid belts. The central star flickered and sparked, throwing off electromagnetic storms that would blind most navigation systems. How many ships are out there? Jake asked. Amy Parker worked at her communication station, scanning the wreckage. I'm reading at least 300 destroyed vessels, sir, maybe more. Some of these wrecks are really old. On the main screen, the Kragoth base appeared as a massive dark shape against the stars. It was built into an asteroid the size of a small moon, with weapon platforms sticking out like spikes. Red lights blinked along its surface, and Jake could see the shapes of patrol ships moving around it in regular patterns. Ion Wolf and Stormchaser, report status, Jake said into his communication headset. Lisa Chang's voice came back immediately. Iron Wolf ready, Captain. My engineer says our modifications are working perfectly. Stormchaser is green across the board, added Matt Sullivan. Though I have to say this place lives up to its reputation. Ryan Torres studied his tactical screens, counting enemy contacts. I'm seeing 12 Kragoth warships, just like intelligence predicted. They're big, heavily armed, and they're starting to move toward us. Sam looked back at his captain. Sir, they're sending us a navigation warning. Says the asteroid field ahead is impassable for most ship types and we should turn back immediately. Jake almost smiled. Most ship types. Sam, how does this compare to the asteroid belt back home? The young pilot studied his readings for a moment. Honestly, sir, the density is about the same as the belt between Mars and Jupiter. The electromagnetic interference is bad, but not worse than a solar storm. The gravity fields are tricky, but nothing we haven't handled before. That was the difference between humans and most other species. Humans had learned to fly in Sol system, where asteroids move fast and space weather could kill you. Other species learned to fly in safe, predictable systems where the biggest danger was getting bored. All ships move into the asteroid field, Jake ordered. Stay close and watch for enemy contacts. The New Horizon moved forward with the Iron Wolf and Storm Chaser following behind. Sam's hands moved across his controls with practiced ease, threading the ship between chunks of rock the size of buildings. On his screen, red warning lights appeared as the Kragath patrol ships changed course to intercept them. "Captain, we're getting a transmission from the Kragath base," Amy reported. "They want to talk. Put them through." The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of a Kragath warship. The alien commander was huge with gray skin and massive shoulders. His eyes were small and mean, and when he spoke, his voice was deep and threatening. "I am War Leader Gornax of the Kragath fleet," the alien growled. "You have entered our territory without permission. Turn back now or be destroyed." Jake stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "I am Captain Morrison of the human fleet. We're here for the Villani prisoners you're holding." Gornax stared at him for a moment, then began to laugh. It was an ugly sound, full of cruelty and amusement. "Humans? I have never heard of this species. You pilot 3 small ships against 12 Kragath warships. Are you insane? Release the prisoners and we'll leave peacefully," Jake replied calmly. "Peaceful?" Gornax laughed again. "Look around you, little human. This is the graveyard of ships. Do you see all those broken vessels? They belong to species that thought they could challenge the Kragath. We are the strongest warriors in this part of the galaxy." Behind Gornax, other Kragath could be seen preparing weapons and shouting orders. They were big and strong-looking, but Jake noticed something about them. They moved with the confidence of bullies who had never met anyone, willing to fight back. "You have 30 seconds to retreat," Gornax continued. "After that, your ships will join the graveyard." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. These were good people who had signed up to explore space and make contact with new species. But they were also humans, and humans had certain ideas about bullies. "Gornax," Jake said quietly, "you've obviously never met anyone from Earth." "Earth? What kind of pathetic world produces such small, weak creatures?" Ryan Torres stepped into view of the communication screen. "A kind of world where the weather can kill you. The ground moves without warning, and the local star tries to cook you with radiation every few years." Gornax looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "He's talking about a death world," Jake explained. "The kind of place that makes you strong or kills you. We call it home." The Kragath commander's expression changed slightly. In the galactic community, death worlds were legendary. Most species believed they were myths, since no intelligent life could possibly evolve on such dangerous planets. "You lie," Gornax said. But he sounded less certain. "Sam," Jake said without taking his eyes off the screen, "show them what human pilots can do." Sam grinned and pushed his controls forward. The New Horizon suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest Kragath warship, diving between asteroids that most aliens would consider navigation hazards. The ship rolled and twisted through the debris field, moving with a grace that defied the hostile environment around it. On the Kragath bridge, Jake could see the aliens staring in shock. Their own ships were backing away from the asteroid field, unwilling to follow the humans into what they considered certain death. "Impossible," Gornax muttered. "No ship can navigate that debris field at those speeds." "Lisa, Matt, show them what else we can do," Jake said. The Iron Wolf and Storm Chaser split off in different directions, each ship dancing through the asteroids with movements that seemed almost alive. Lisa's ship skimmed so close to a spinning rock that sparks flew from the hull, while Matt's vessel used a small asteroid's gravity to slingshot around a larger one The three human ships regrouped on the far side of the debris field, now much closer to the Kragoth base. Jake could see the enemy warships moving to surround them, but they were staying well clear of the asteroids. "How?" Gornax demanded. "How do you fly like that?" "Practice," Jake replied. "When you grow up in a system that's actively trying to kill you, you learn to be good at not dying." The Kragoth commander's face twisted with anger. "It does not matter how well you fly. You are still only 3 ships against 12. Surrender now, and I will make your deaths quick." Jake looked at his crew one more time. Amy was ready at her communication station. Sam's hands were steady on the flight controls. Ryan was preparing weapon systems that the Kragoth had never seen before. "Gornax," Jake said, "you're about to learn something important about humans. What is that?" "We don't surrender. And we really don't like bullies." Jake nodded to Ryan, who activated the ship's newly modified weapon systems. The New Horizons mining lasers, now reconfigured for combat, began to charge with a deep humming sound. "You want to fight?" Jake continued. "You've got one. But I should warn you about something." Gornax leaned forward on his screen. "Warn me about what?" "You picked the wrong species to threaten," Jake smiled grimly. "We're from a death world. We don't know when to quit, and we really hate seeing innocent people hurt by pirates." The communication screen went dark as Gornax cut the connection. Immediately, the Kragoth warships began moving into attack formation, their weapons charging, and their engines glowing brighter. Jake settled into his captain's chair and activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Morrison. Remember, we're not here to destroy the Kragoth fleet. We're here to rescue prisoners and show the galaxy that humans keep their promises." "Iron Wolf ready for combat," Lisa's voice came back. "Storm Chaser standing by," added Matt. Jake looked out at the enemy ships surrounding them. 12 heavily armed warships against 3 modified exploration vessels. By any reasonable calculation, the humans were about to be destroyed, but humans had never been particularly reasonable, especially when someone needed help. "All ships," Jake said, "engage the enemy. Let's show them what a real Deathworld species looks like." The battle began when the Kragoth opened fire first. 12 warships launched a massive wave of energy weapons and missiles at the 3 human vessels. The space around the New Horizon lit up with explosions and burning energy beams. "Shields holding at 60%, Ryan Torres called out as the ship shook from multiple impacts. "But we can't take much more of that." Jake Morrison gripped his captain's chair as another explosion rocked the bridge. "Sam, take us into the asteroid field." "Use the rocks for cover." "Into the field, sir." Sam Collins looked back with surprise. "Those asteroids are moving pretty fast." "So are we." "Move!" The New Horizon dove toward the nearest cluster of spinning rocks, with energy blasts from the Kragoth ships following close behind. Sam twisted the ship between 2 house-sized asteroids, using their bulk to block the enemy fire. "Captain, the Kragoth ships are backing off," Amy Parker reported from her station. "They won't follow us into the debris field." On the communication system, Lisa Shang's voice crackled through. "Iron Wolf to New Horizon. These pirates fight like cowards. They only attack when they think they can win easily." Jake watched his tactical display as the Kragoth warships spread out around the asteroid field, trying to catch the human ships when they emerged. That's their mistake. "Ryan, what's the status on our modified weapons?" "Mining lasers are fully charged, Captain. The cargo launcher is loaded with improvised missiles, and the hull reinforcement is ready for ramming speed." "Ramming speed?" Amy asked. "Captain, are we really going to ram their ships?" "Amy, our ships are built to survive collisions with asteroids moving at thousands of miles per hour. Their ships are built to look scary and fly fast. What do you think happens when something built to survive crashes into something built to look pretty?" Before Amy could answer, the Storm Chaser's voice came over the communication system. "New Horizon, this is Matt Sullivan. I've got an idea. But it's pretty crazy." "How crazy?" Jake asked. "I want to use that spinning asteroid cluster at Grid 77 as a gravity slingshot." If I time it right, I can come out behind their formation at about twice normal combat speed. Jake looked at his tactical display. The maneuver Matt was describing would require flying through a field of rocks that were tumbling in random directions, then using their combined gravity to accelerate to dangerous speeds. Most alien pilots would consider it suicide. Do it, Jake said. Lisa, can the Iron Wolf provide covering fire? Already on it, Lisa replied. I'm going to try something I learned from studying our mining operations. The Iron Wolf suddenly emerged from the asteroid field, flying straight at the nearest Kragoth warship. The enemy vessel began firing immediately, but Lisa's ship didn't try to dodge. Instead, it flew directly through the barrage of energy weapons. How is she doing that? Ryan muttered, watching his screens. Jake understood. Our hull plating is designed to handle solar radiation and electromagnetic storms. Their energy weapons are basically the same thing, just more focused. The Iron Wolf reached the Kragoth ship and opened fire with its modified mining lasers. But instead of trying to destroy the enemy vessel, Lisa aimed at specific targets. The alien ship's weapon systems exploded one by one as the precise laser beams cut through their delicate mechanisms. Brilliant, Jake said with admiration. She's not trying to destroy them, she's disabling their ability to fight. The Kragoth ship tried to retreat, but the Iron Wolf stayed close, continuing to slice apart its weapons and engines with surgical precision. Within minutes, the enemy vessel was floating helplessly, unable to fight or run. Storm Chaser beginning attack run, Matt's voice announced on the tactical display. Jake watched as Matt's ship emerged from the asteroid cluster at incredible speed. The Storm Chaser was moving so fast that the Kragoth ships barely had time to react before it was among them, but instead of using conventional weapons, Matt did something that made the alien pirates panic. He opened the Storm Chaser's cargo bay and began launching pieces of asteroid debris at the enemy ships. The rocks, accelerated by the ship's momentum, hit the Kragoth vessels like massive bullets. He's using space junk as ammunition, Amy said. With amazement. Effective space junk, Ryan observed as one of the Kragoth ships suffered a hull breach from a well-aimed chunk of metal. Jake decided it was time for the New Horizon to join the fight. Sam, take us out of the asteroid field. I want to try something. Yes, sir. Where are we heading? Directly at the biggest Kragoth ship. Sam's hands paused over his controls. Sir, that's Gornax's flagship. It's 3 times our size and has enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Sam, do you remember what Ben said about our hull construction? Yes, sir. Built to survive impacts. With asteroids? Well, that big ship is about to become a very expensive asteroid. The New Horizon burst out of the debris field at full speed, heading straight for the Kragoth flagship. Gornax's ship immediately began firing everything it had, filling space with energy beams and explosive missiles, but the human ship didn't slow down or try to dodge. Instead, Sam flew directly through the barrage, the reinforced hull sparking and smoking but holding together. The closer they got, the more frantic the Kragoth fire became. Hull integrity at 40%, Ryan reported. But we're almost there. Ryan, fire everything we have, Jake ordered. Target their bridge and engine sections. The New Horizon's modified weapons fired at point-blank range. Mining lasers, designed to cut through solid rock, sliced into the flagship's hull like it was made of paper. Improvised missiles exploded against weapon platforms, sending debris flying in all directions, but the real shock came when Jake gave his next order. Sam, ram them. Sir, you heard me. Ram their ship? Sam pushed the engines to maximum power and aimed the New Horizon directly at the flagship's main hull. The Kragoth ship tried to turn away, but it was too big and slow to avoid the much smaller human vessel. The impact was tremendous. The New Horizon's reinforced front section smashed into the flagship's side, punching through armor plating that was supposed to stop heavy weapons. Alarms screamed on both ships as the human vessel drove deep into the alien hull before finally stopping. Damage report, Jake called out as the bridge lights flickered. We're stuck inside their ship, Ryan reported with a grin. But we're alive and they're definitely not happy about it. On the communication system, Gornax's voice roared with rage and confusion. What kind of insane species rams warships? This is not how space combat works. Amy, open a channel to all ships, Jake ordered. When the communication was active, Jake spoke calmly into his headset. This is Captain Morrison to all Kragath vessels. You now have two choices. Surrender immediately and release all prisoners, or we'll continue demonstrating human combat tactics. You have damaged one ship, Gornax replied. We still outnumber. You check your tactical displays, Jake suggested, dot around the battlefield. The remaining Kragath ships were discovering that fighting humans was nothing like fighting other species. The Iron Wolf had disabled 3 more vessels and was now using chunks of their own armor as projectiles. The Storm Chaser was flying patterns that seemed impossible, diving through debris fields that no sane pilot would enter, but the real surprise came when Lieutenant Grace Taylor, the New Horizons weapons officer, found that their missile systems had been damaged in the ramming attack. Captain, our missile launchers are offline, she reported. Can you fix them? Grace studied her control panel for a moment, then smiled. Actually, sir, I have a better idea. The cargo bay launching system is still working. What are you thinking? Well, we're carrying emergency supplies, including spare fuel cells and mining explosives. If I eject them manually and detonate them with the mining lasers ... double quotes, Jake understood immediately. You want to turn our cargo into bombs. Exactly. And since we're stuck inside their flagship, we can place them very precisely. Within minutes, Grace was manually launching supplies from the cargo bay, placing them against critical sections of the Kragath ship's hull. When she triggered the mining lasers, the explosions tore through the flagship's internal structure. The other Kragath ships watched in horror as their most powerful vessel began to break apart from the inside. Gornax's voice came over the communication. System, no longer angry but frightened. Stop, what do you want? Release the prisoners, Jake repeated, all of them. This is madness. No civilized species fights like this. Jake looked around his damaged bridge at his crew who had just accomplished something that military experts would have said was impossible. You're right, Gornax, we're not civilized. We're from a death world. There was a long pause before the Kragath commander spoke again. The prisoners will be released. Please, no more attacks. On the tactical display, Jake could see the remaining Kragath ships retreating toward their base. The battle was over, and somehow 3 human exploration vessels had defeated a pirate fleet that had terrorized this part of the galaxy for decades. All ships report status, Jake said. Iron Wolf operational, Lisa replied. Though I think, we need to redesign our definition of space combat. Storm Chaser here, Matt added. My crew is asking if we can do that again. I think they enjoyed it. 2 hours after the battle ended, Jake Morrison stood in the New Horizons cargo bay watching as the rescued prisoners came aboard. The Villani were exactly as he had imagined from their distress call, tall, thin beings with large eyes and delicate features. They moved carefully, as if they expected the human ship to break apart around them. Dr. Zefkala, the Villani scientist who had sent the original distress call, approached Jake with obvious nervousness. His translator device rendered his musical voice into Galactic Standard. Captain Morrison, I must express our gratitude, but I confess I do not understand what we have witnessed. The alien said, his large eyes blinking rapidly. The Kragath have terrorized this region for 50 years. Military fleets from 3 different species have failed to defeat them. How did 3 exploration vessels succeed? Jake smiled gently. The Villani reminded him of frightened children, and he found himself speaking more softly than usual. Dr. Zefkala, may I ask what your homeworld is like? The alien looked confused by the question. Vila Prime is a peaceful world. We have gentle seasons, stable weather, and predictable tides. Our greatest natural disasters are spring rains that sometimes flood the valleys. And your ships are built for travel between such worlds? Of course. Why would we need vessels capable of surviving harsh conditions when such conditions do not exist in civilized space? Jake nodded toward the viewing port where the wreckage of Kragath ships drifted among the asteroids. The difference, Doctor, is that we come from a world that isn't civilized. Earth doesn't care if we're ready for earthquakes, ice ages, or solar storms. It hits us with them anyway. Amy Parker joined the conversation, carrying a datapad with information about the other rescued prisoners. Captain, we've got 63 prisoners total. Villani, Thari, Nexans, and even some Kragath who were being held for refusing to follow orders. Dr. Zefkala's translator worked overtime as he tried to process this information. You rescued Kragath prisoners as well? But they are your enemies? They're prisoners, Jake replied simply. That makes them people who need help. Then Roberts approached from across the cargo bay, his work clothes covered in grease and metal shavings. Captain, I've been talking with some of the rescued engineers. They're amazed that our ships are still functional after that battle. What do you mean? Well, the Villani engineer says that any normal ship would have been destroyed by the first energy barrage we took. The Nexan pilot can't understand how we flew through those asteroid fields. And the Thari mechanic wants to know how we built ships strong enough for ramming attacks. Dr. Zefkala moved closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his nervousness. Captain Morrison, your species fascinates me. The Kragath are considered the most warlike race in this part of the galaxy, yet you defeated them using exploration vessels. How is this possible? Before Jake could answer, Ryan Torres entered the cargo bay carrying his communication equipment. Captain, you need to hear this. We're getting messages from all over the galaxy. What kind of messages? News reports, military. Analysis, requests for interviews. Word about the battle is spreading fast. Ryan activated his portable screen, showing text scrolling rapidly in multiple alien languages. The Galactic News Network is calling it the impossible victory. The Military Analysis Institute wants to study our tactics. And the Peaceful Worlds Alliance is asking if humans are available for hire as peacekeepers. Dr. Zefkala stared at the screen in amazement. Captain, I think you should know that this battle will change everything. For 50 years, the Kragath have been proof that violence always wins over peaceful intentions. But you have shown that there is something stronger than mere aggression? Jake looked around the cargo bay at the rescued prisoners. They came from different worlds and different species, but they all had the same expression, a mixture of gratitude and wonder. These were people who had given up hope of rescue, who had accepted that the pirates would eventually kill them. Dr. Zefkala, may I ask you something? Jake said. Of course, Captain. In your distress call, you said your people were too soft and too weak for fighting. Do you still believe that? The Villani scientist considered the question carefully. I am beginning to think that we have been using the wrong definition of strength. The Kragath are physically powerful and aggressive, but they collapsed the moment they faced real opposition. You humans appear smaller and less threatening, yet you accomplished what seemed impossible. Amy looked up from her datapad. Captain, I'm getting a priority communication from Earth Command. They want a full report on the engagement. Tell them we'll send it as soon as we get these people to safety. What's our status on the wounded? Dr. Kate Williams is treating some injured prisoners in the medical bay, Ryan reported. She says most of them are suffering from poor nutrition and stress rather than serious injuries. The Kragath didn't waste resources keeping prisoners healthy. Jake felt a familiar anger at the casual cruelty of pirates and slavers. How long until we can get everyone back to their home systems? The Villani can be back to Vila Prime in 6 days, Amy said, checking her charts. The other species will take longer, but we can arrange transport through galactic merchant networks. Dr. Zefkala stepped closer to Jake. Captain, there is something else you should know. I have been sending reports about this rescue to my government and to the scientific community. The response has been extraordinary. What kind of response? For the first time in galactic history, species are asking serious questions about Deathworlds. Until now, we assumed that any planet dangerous enough to be called a Deathworld would be uninhabitable. The idea that intelligent life could not only survive on such a world, but actually be made stronger by it, challenges our fundamental understanding of evolution and development. Then wiped his hands on a rag and joined the conversation. What does that mean for us? It means, Dr. Zefkala said slowly, that the galaxy is about to discover that there may be other Deathworld species out there. Species that, like humans, have capabilities that we never imagined possible. Ryan's communication equipment chimed with an incoming message. He read it quickly, then looked up with surprise. Captain, we're getting a transmission from the Galactic Council itself. The Galactic Council? They usually don't talk directly to individual ship captains. This one is addressed specifically to you, sir. It's marked as urgent and classified. Jake activated the message on Ryan's screen. The image that appeared showed an elegant alien with blue skin and silver robes, Representative Velthari of the Galactic Council. Captain Morrison, the representative said, I am contacting you directly because the events in the Kragath system have caused significant discussion among the council members. 3 months ago, we received an application for galactic membership from your species. At that time, we classified humans as a primitive warrior culture unsuitable for civilized society. Jake felt his crew gathering around him as they listened to the message. However, the representative continued, your actions today suggest that our initial assessment was incorrect. Any species capable of defeating the Kragoth fleet, while simultaneously rescuing prisoners of multiple races, demonstrates qualities that the galaxy desperately needs. The Council would like to extend a formal invitation for humanity to join the galactic community as full members. The message paused, then continued. Captain Morrison, we have also received reports that your homeworld may be what our scientists classify as a death world. If this is accurate, humanity represents the first known Deathworld species to achieve spaceflight and interstellar travel. The implications of this discovery cannot be overstated. Jake looked around at his crew. Amy was grinning with excitement. Ryan looked proud but unsurprised. Ben was already thinking about what this would mean for human technology sharing with alien species. There is one final matter, Representative Velthari concluded. In the past 6 hours, we have received reports of Kragath pirate bases in 4 different sectors going silent. It appears that word of your victory is spreading, and the pirates are abandoning their operations rather than risk facing human forces. The message ended, leaving the cargo bay in silence. Dr. Zefkala was the first to speak. Captain Morrison, you have given the galaxy something it has not had for generations, hope. Hope that cruelty can be defeated, that the strong can protect the weak, and that some species will always be willing to help others regardless of the cost. Jake looked out through the cargo bay's viewing port at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, other species were learning about humans for the first time. They were discovering that the galaxy contained a people from a death world who had turned the challenges of their harsh home into strengths that could protect others. Captain, Amy said quietly, what do we tell Earth Command about the Council's invitation? Jake smiled as he watched the rescued prisoners talking with his crew. No longer afraid, but filled with curiosity about these strange humans who had risked everything to help strangers. We tell them that humanity just became the galaxy's newest member, and that we have work to do. As the New Horizon prepared to leave the graveyard of ships, Jake couldn't help but think about what the future would hold.